Hey guys, welcome back. So let's create our blueprints for our weapons. So in the shooter files folder, I'm going to create a folder for the component, and I want to create a new folder called blueprints or blueprint actors. I'm going to leave it as blueprints. Open it up, right click, and we're going to create a new blueprint class. This is going to be of type actor. I'm going to call this BP underscore master weapon. Now I'm going to create another folder called enums. Open this up, and we need to create two new enums. First one is going to be called E underscore fire mode, and I'm going to duplicate this, and we're going to call this E underscore weapon pose. Great. So now I'm going to open up fire mode, and I'm simply going to add two, and we're going to add single and auto. I'm going to open the weapon pose, and I'm going to add three, actually four. The first one is going to be default, which is our unarmed state. Then we'll have our sidearm, our primary, and our special. Great. Let's open up the master weapon blueprint. And we need to add a skeletal mesh. And we're going to call this weapon mesh. Compile and save. And we need a few variables. Let's create the first one. I'm going to call this equipped socket. It's going to be of type name. We're going to duplicate this and create one for the holster socket as well. So we're going to create this specified each weapon. Let's add our fire rate enum. So we're going to call this fire mode, and it's going to be of type enum e fire mode. We're going to create another variable. This one is going to be called weapon pose, and it will be of type enum e weapon pose. We're going to create another variable called fire rate, and it's going to be a float. And let's create the montages as we're here. We'll call this equip weapon. Let's call it equip montage. It's going to be of type anim montage. We'll duplicate this, or actually let's create a new one, and we'll call this holster montage. Another one for fire, so fire montage. This is going to be for the player. And we can do one for reloading, so let's do reload montage. And all of the montages, we're going to place them in a category called montages. I'm simply going to drag in all of them. Right, I'm going to compile and save. So we have our master weapon class. Next we will I'm going to add a folder and call this Interactables. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to right click and create a new blueprint class of type actor. This will be our pickup actor. So I'm going to call this Interactable master. So we're going to add a new static mesh, I'm going to call this weapon mesh, and we'll need a variable of type, we're going to call this weapon class, and it will be of type BP master weapon. Class reference. Compile and save. So right now, let's say I head to my blueprints folder and I create a child of BP Interactable master, and let's just say I call this BP underscore test, and I open this up. In the default settings, you can see I can specify a weapon class for the master weapon, so let's say it's a sidearm, primary, or special, and we can select a mesh. So for now, I'm simply going to do a cube so we can test out our interaction system. So let's do that now. We're going to drag this into our scene, and in the BP Interactable master, I'm going to add a collision. So I'm going to add a sphere collision. Right, I'm going to drag the sphere collision to be the default scene route. Now we have the weapon mesh, so I select the sphere, weapon mesh. Right, so we have these two. The sphere, I'm going to set the radius to 100. So now we have a sphere here, and as you can see, it's now in our world. Next, we will need to be able to pick this up. Let's open up the component, BPC shooter, and let's set up a basic interaction. I'm going to hit the 8 key. Now again, you can add your own input mapping. It can be for the enhanced input mapping, or if you're using Unreal Engine 5.0.3 like I am, you can simply go to this edit, project settings, and add a new input. So I'm simply going to use the E key. I'm going to create a function called perform interact, and the first thing we want to do is get owner. From get owner, we want to get the overlapping actors, and we want to check if the overlapping actors is of type BP Interactable master. I'm going to do a for each loop with break. Connect this here, and we want to check if the array element does implement interface, and if it does, we want to check if the array index is equal to 0 as well. This will avoid us picking up multiple objects or multiple items when we are overlapping more than one. So you want to check if both of these conditions is true. Add a branch. And now we need to create one more thing, which is an interface. So I'm going to head to our shooter files here and create a new folder called interfaces. Let's open it up, right click, blueprints, and a new blueprint interface. We're going to call this BPI. Yeah, let's say BPI master weapon. Since it's going to be implemented in our master weapon. Oh, not master weapon, but master interactable. So let's rename this. So I'm going to call BPI interact. Yeah. So I'm going to add a new function, and we're going to name this function add item. Compile, save, and let's head to the interactable master here. And we need to hit the class settings and implement a new interface, which is BPI interact. Now if I double click here, I'll implement the event. I'm going to add a print string, and we'll say grabbed, and I'm going to destroy the actor afterwards. This is temporary. I'm going to add a lot of logic here afterwards. Now in our component, let's check if our BPI interact interface is implemented in the overlapping actor, and if it is, then we want to call from our array elements. We're going to promote this to a local variable. We want to call this local actor. Right, so local actor. Now let's get our local actor, and we're going to call add item. Connect this here, and once completed, or once true, we want to break our loop. Now let's drag in our perform interact function and connect it right here. Compile and save. Now let's test this out. If I hit play, I can walk up to this. If I hit E, it will destroy the actor and it will say grabbed. Now let's create some visuals. So let's create a widget. So I'm gonna head to my shooter files folder, right click, create a folder. I'm gonna call this widgets. I'm gonna open this up, right click, user interface, widget blueprint. It's gonna be of type user widget. I'm gonna call this WB for widget blueprint underscore interact. And open this up. First thing I want to do is add a canvas panel, and let's get a horizontal box, and we want to anchor this to the center. We want to reset the position to 0 and 0 on the X and Y, and the alignment will be 0.5 and 0.5, so it will be perfectly center. And I want to set size to content to be true because we don't want any additional space. The first thing we want to add is a size box. Now within this size box, I want to add a border. So if I override my width and height, I can set my size to be 32 by 32. That's standard, pretty standard size. You can adjust this if you like. Next, we want to select our border. I'm going to select this so we can get rid of the little dotted outline here. So I'm going to take this off so we can see things a bit clearer. Select it, and in the things here, in the brush, under draw as, we're going to change this to draw as rounded box. Now you can leave this if you like, but I'm going to do a bit more PC icon style. So I'm going to change the rounded type to fixed radius. I'm going to set the radius, the corner radius, to something like, say 15. Too much. Let's do 8 on all sides. Now I'm going to add a text to our border. Select our text, and I'm going to change the color to something darker. I'm going to choose a dark gray. I'm going to set the alignment to be 4 on all sides, the padding, sorry, on all sides. I'm going to change the text to be E. I'm going to set this to be center, and we have some issues. So I'm going to reset the padding. Let's set the padding to 2. 0. Yeah, 0 is fine. And I'm going to, since it's a bit off, I'm going to set the size down to something like 16. Yeah, I guess that's fine. And it's a bit off, so I'm going to select our top padding and add. Yeah, I'm going to add a 1 for our top padding, so it could seem a bit more center. Then I'm going to add a text to our horizontal box, and this will be our item text. I'm going to set this variable to be true, and by default text is going to be simply interact, since we don't have anything else inserted right now. So I'm going to give a little spacing of 100, probably 75, 50. Yeah, 50 is good. Then I want to head down to primitive, and let's get a spacer and add it to our horizontal box as well. It will be added to the end. Let's set this little arrow here to bring it to the center, and let's set the size on the X to be something like 8. So we'll have a little space between them. Hit compile and save. Now you can see there's a bit of stretch. That's because of the size of this compared to the size of that we set here. So I'm going to set this down to something like 18, so it's a bit more comfortable. Now in our interactable master, I'm going to add, let's see, sphere, right click, and I'm going to do add event on component begin overlap. I'm going to do the same for the end overlap. So the first thing I want to do is create a function, and let's call this show interaction. We need an input. It's going to be of type object reference. I'm going to call this other actor. So we want to check if the other actor is equal to our player, and if it is, only then can we proceed, because we don't want AIs overlapping the actor and toggling on and off our interaction widget. Now if it is, then we want to create widget, WB interact, and we want to promote the return value to a variable. We're going to call this interact UI. Now we only want to show this if it's not already there. So let's get the interact UI, right click, convert it to a validated get, and connect this here. And all of it is not valid, only then can we create it. And let's add an extra layer of security real quick, and let's do is in viewport. And we're going to check if it's not already there. So only if it's not in viewport and it's not already valid, only then we can proceed. So I'm going to connect this here, and connect the knot to our branch. So only then we can get our interact UI and say add to viewport. The next thing we need to do is add an input to our function. This is going to be of type boolean, and let's call this show question mark. So let's bring this here, the branch, and we want to check if show is true or not. So right click and get show, connect this here, and if show is true, we can create it. If show is false, then let's duplicate the validated get for our interact UI. So basically, if show is false, then we want to remove it. So I'm going to say remove from parent. Now in our event graph, let's get our show interaction function. Connect this here. Other actor will be other actor. And we're going to set show to true when we begin the overlap, and connect everything up respectively, and just simply set show to false. Now if we overlap, we should see our UI. Right, so it's pretty center of the screen. So I'm simply going to head back to our interact UI here, select the entire horizontal box, and I'm going to bring this down to something. I'm gonna put it bottom center. So I'm gonna anchor it to the bottom center. Reset the values again, and I'm gonna set the Y to minus 200. Yeah, that seems good to me. Yeah. So last bit of tip, let's open up the character blueprint. I'm gonna select my character right here and select edit. And I'm gonna reposition the camera. So I'm gonna delete this Cinecam because we don't need it, and I'm gonna add a regular camera. The spring arm, I'm gonna set this to 150. I'm gonna set the socket offset to be 15 on the Z. I already have these set up for the camera light speed, whatever. I'm gonna set the camera light speed to be 10 and the rotation light speed to be 9. The offset on the Y, I'm gonna put that to be 70. Let's see how that looks. So we will no longer be dead center. So we're going like really close. So it's still gonna look pretty good. So now it will show up to the center of the screen. So if you want, you can place your Interact UI back to the center. Maybe that will look better. It's really just preference. Yeah, I'm gonna drop it down a bit, something like 50. Yeah, that's fine with me. Great. So in the next one, we're going to continue setting up our weapon system. See you in the next one, guys.